Pastor Lola Adeosun. She is a psychologist, a Christian counselor who has.
Number one thing that I've seen, which is on top of that list, is the role reversal, which we are talking about. I think lack of flexibilities when it comes to gender roles. Back in Nigeria, a man is the head. When I was in Nigeria, I had a house girl, I had a driver who drives me up and down, and one of my cousin was living with us, one of my husband's cousin was living with us. I hardly make my way to the kitchen. I remember the only time my husband comes to the kitchen is when we're frying fish or chicken. And he comes, pick it up, I say, wow, this tastes good, and go and sit down, and he's watching his TV and he's waiting for the food to be ready. It was YouTube that taught my husband how to make efo, how to make egusi, how to make beans, how to make the structure of the Western world. Instability in terms of the connection between husband and wife, because either the wife is doing evening shift, the husband is doing morning shift, they have to figure out what to do with the children. Women gain more autonomy, while men may struggle to adapt to their new role and the social norms here. Also, there is so much increase in stress because even if you are in your own country and you are moving country, so the stress associated with settling down in a new environment, in a new culture, in a place where you just have, my husband will call it, where everybody is leveled. People come with this expectation like, okay, I'm going abroad, everything is perfect, everything is great, and when they get here, they meet the shock of their lives. So sometimes people just get into this panic mode, and of course it affects the marriage dynamics ultimately. And we have to really sit down to say, hey, we don't have the house girl here anymore. We don't have the house boy. We don't have the driver. We don't have cook. We don't have for somebody to do the laundry. We are all these things together. We see people who come, even women who are like, no, I'm not going to cook. You're going to be ordering food all the time. Or we have men who are, because he looked at the things like, I want to eat, and this woman has gone to work all day. Am I going to wait for her until she comes back? And then you have seen child tax benefit creating a lot of stress, where the woman is like, this is my money, we cannot share it. And marriages have actually collapsed because of this. And the man is like, but these children is our children. Let's use the money for the betterment of the family. Or better still, let's use it for the children. It's like, no. It's my money. So
good day, everyone. I am so excited to bring you another episode on the Debo podcast. And I want to say big thanks to everyone who has been following the previous episodes, who have liked, who has commented. We are so grateful. Just so you guys know, we are also available on all podcast platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you find your podcast. Today, I have a very interesting conversation that we'll be talking about. We're talking about why marriages, especially from Africa or Nigeria, when we move to the Western world, why it seems like some marriages have a little bit of struggle. And to help us uncover that this topic would be Pastor Lola Adeosun. She is a psychologist, a Christian counselor who has helped many families navigate the challenges of relocation, identity shifts, and relationship strain. She brings both professional insight and faith-based wisdom to this conversation. Pastor Lola, thank you so much for being here. You're welcome to the Debo podcast.
Thank you so much, Debo, for having me in this wonderful platform where a lot of people glean wisdom and knowledge from. And a disclaimer, I did psychology as my first degree, but I'm actually a social worker.
Interested. Okay.
So I did my master's in social work. So I'm a registered social worker.
Yeah, so registered social worker in Canada, but technically you're still a psychologist. So double honors for you. Double,
Thank you.
double honors for you, Mara. So I have
Thank you.
titled this episode, When Love Crosses Borders, the Strain on Immigrant Marriages. And we'll just start off lightly. From your experience, what do you think is really responsible for marriages having a little bit of strain, especially when people cross over from Africa to the Western world? Would it be because of cultural background? Would it be because of religious background? What do you think is really responsible for the strain that affects most marriages when they move into the Western world?
Thank you very much. Excellent, excellent question. There is no doubt that one of the major factors, or dynamics that affects marriages when people cross border to this part of the world, one of it is the way the structure of the Western world. The Western world is structured in such a way where we are work driven. People are doing
Mm,
so many shifts, taking continental shifts, morning, afternoon, evening, instability in terms of the connection between husband and wife, because either the wife is doing evening shift, the husband is doing morning shift. They have to figure out what to do with the children. Not only got that, in the Western world here, there's a lot of increase in independence, especially for women. Women gain more autonomy, while men may struggle to adapt to their new role and the social norms here. Also, there are changing expectations. When people come here, expectations of the woman changes. People back home too, their expectations of us actually changes.
mm,
You know, people assume new roles. And there's oh my God, there is so much increase in stress,
mm,
because even if you're in your own country and you are moving from one place to the other, within your country, we know how much that can be stressful, how
mm,
much more when you move into an entirely new country. So the stress associated with settling down in a new environment, in a new culture, in a place where you just have, my husband will call it, where everybody is leveled, and you have to start to find your way. And sometimes people come with this expectation like, okay, I'm going abroad. Everything is perfect. Everything is great. And when they get here, they meet the shock of their lives. So sometimes people just get into this panic mode. And of course, it affects the marriage dynamics ultimately.
mm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, because this is a very valid conversation. Happens everywhere. In corners, in public places, you hear people talk about, oh, this marriage, they came in as a couple together, and now they are no more, or they are,
Mm,
they're talking about divorcing, or they're
mm.
having consistent fights and things like that. Um, we pretty much from a cultural background that talks about respect, and even biblically, it's, the Bible seems to say, wives, respect your husband and husbands love your wife. And then
Mm.
culturally, the head is figured, I mean, the man is figured as the head in the home and who has to provide consistently. Now, you already said it, sometimes roles change, but as roles change, should it also impact the strain on marriages? Because what pretty much causes that problem to escalate? Is it because some marriages they weren't very cordial back home, or it's just essentially because it's a new environment for people to they are just discovering a new environment?
I think what causes the strain also is the fact that the stress level goes so high that it's so hard for people to be rational, especially when you're stressed, you're frustrated. Sometimes any decision we make at that place of frustration and stress, it's hard to be rational. Everybody is just trying to find their way and find their balance. And not only that, I think lack of flexibilities when it comes to gender roles.
Mm, mm,
Back in Nigeria, a man is the head.
mm,
Here in Canada, I want to believe, because what we're talking about is biblical principles and role. And culture, wherever you find yourself, shouldn't play a major role in determining what you do as a woman. However, some of these roles, when we get here, it gets to a point where husband and wife needs to really sit down and say, hey, when I was in Nigeria, I'll give my own example. Let me give my own example. When I was in Nigeria, I had a house girl, I had a driver who drives me up and down, and one of my cousin was living with us, one of my husband's cousin was living with us. I hardly make my way to the kitchen. I remember the only time my husband comes to the kitchen is when we're frying fish or chicken. And he comes, pick it up, and say, wow, this tastes good, and go and sit down, and he's watching his TV, and he's waiting for the food to be ready. And when the food is ready, we serve him. Even before he finish eating, some people are checking as daddy finish eating, and now they take the food and come, right? It's great, it's good, he loves it. But when we came to this country, it will be very, very inflexible of him. And that's what we mean. Sometimes people say we're not compatible again. No, it's because you're not flexible. So when we came here, he looked at the things on ground. And we had to really sit down to say, hey, we don't have the house girl here anymore. We don't have the house boy. We don't have the driver. We don't have cook. We don't have for somebody to do the laundry. We are all these things together. So how do we try to adjust? So it's that adjustment. Now we see people who come, even women who are like, no, I'm not going to cook. You're going to be ordering food all the time. Or we have men who are like, I don't know how to cook. It was YouTube that taught my husband how to make efo, how to make egusi, how to make beans, because he looked at the things like, I want to eat, and this woman has gone to work all day. Am I going to wait for her until she comes back? And then he has 4 girls who are like, Daddy, we are hungry. So it's just the inflexibility. And I want to encourage every couple that is listening to this to be able to say, look, if you want both of you to grow old and healthy together, it's always good to be able to put things on the table and say, okay, what can you do? And if there's anything you cannot do, it can be taught. Things can be taught. My husband will say, I don't like to do laundry. And often today, he doesn't do laundry, but there are other things he does that helps out, within the home. Thank you.
That's really insightful. Thank you so much, Pastor Lola, for sharing your personal experience on this platform. And what I could hear consistently when you were sharing is people have to have an open mind.
Yes.
Not be rigid and say, oh, this is how we've always done things and it must continue this way. So we must unlearn, we must learn and then relearn. So that's essentially
absolutely
this world. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. All right, so I'm going to move on to one question. From your experience, what are some of the most common marital challenges that you have seen among immigrant couples? What are the ones that you have seen from your professional experience?
Yeah, I mean, number one thing that I've seen, which is on top of that list, is the role reversal, which we're talking about. Is the role reversal. It's creating, you have no idea, sir, how much this is creating a lot of stress in the home. When the man is saying, woman, what I'm earning is not enough to take care of us. But this woman is used to you bringing the paycheck in your own country. And you're like, no, my money is my money. Your money is your, no. And that cannot really work here. So that role reversal, women taking on a new role, men taking on a new role is one of the major problem in the Western world here. And seconded by financial difficulties in the sense that there is no free money here. Every dime you make, you have to work for it. I have seen child tax benefit creating a lot of stress where the woman is like, this is my money, we cannot share it. And marriages have actually collapsed because of this. And the man is like, but these children is our children. Let's use the money for the betterment of the family. Or better still, let's use it for the children. It's like, no. It's my money. So, financial difficulties, people wanting to hold on, not selfishness, not wanting to share what they have with their spouses. Another one is social isolation. This is a system that is so isolated, so isolated. And when people are isolated, sometimes it can create a lot of mental health struggles. We are coming from a system where there's that communal spirit. Your neighbor, you can easily talk to them about what is going on and you see them provide this solution. But here, you don't even know your next door neighbor.
Yeah.
So sometimes this can also create a lot of stress where women are feeling, or men are feeling like, I'm all by myself. Why did I even make this decision in the first place? And another one followed by that is the career challenges. Navigating through career challenges. Somebody who's a medical doctor in Nigeria or in Ghana or in Sierra Leone, or even in their home country, coming here and having to start right from they are not used to that kind of life, navigating career challenges, also pressure from home too, because people from home, they think, we have all the money, so that could also be. So those are the major common marital challenges that I've seen. But on top of that is the role reversal.
Interesting. And everything you've said, super valid. Definitely major issues that people face in this part of the world, coming from home or back home, Africa, anywhere. Now, before we talk about the roles of spiritual support in marriage, when marriage feels like falling apart, before we touch on that, I just wanted to take you back a little bit on some of the points that you've made. So,
Okay.
obviously, in Nigeria or in Africa, pretty much most people see men as the providers, like the sole providers in the home financially. Is that biblical? Is it the way that it is supposed to be biblically, or is that a cultural definition that people from yesteryears have put on the man, which is causing a lot of pressure on men, especially when they move to this part of the country? What do you think about that?
Thank you very much. You see, it's biblical. It's biblical. You will discover that when God made Adam, he gave him a job before the woman came in. Everything was adequately, apart from God adequately providing for everything he needs before the woman came in. So, and there's a scripture, I can't really remember where it is, where it said, he that does not provide for his own household is worse than an infidel. To be very honest, men are wired to be the provider by God. And that's why when a man does not have a job, when they come here and they're still trying to find out, what do I do? It hits men more than women. Every man wants to be able to look and say, I am providing for my household. A man is a protector. A man is wired to shield. A man is wired to carry the structure of the home. So that is basic. That is very, very biblical. However, that man is not asked to do it alone. The woman has a helpmeet beside him, and that is the woman. A help that is suitable for him, a help that complements him. There may be times when the man, for some reasons, lost his job or doesn't have a job. The woman steps into that role because the woman is the helpmate. It's the job of that woman to begin to say, come on, we'll get through this. It's okay. We're going to be able to make it through. The woman steps in with everything. I always say this, marriage is not 50-50. Marriage is 100-100. I'll give my own instance. My husband finished his PhD here in mechanical engineering, and he was about to get this fabulous job that will give him over 100,000 per annum, close to 130 per annum. And the Lord spoke to him and said, hey, David, I want you to go on full-time ministry. It was difficult, but I knew I had to step up. I knew I had to support the man that I love. That's the dynamic of life. There are times when the woman gets to the point where God is blessing the woman. And the Lord told me at a point, he said, even the blessings that you are having it because of your husband, because of my call upon his life. So in marriage, it's a collaboration. that doesn't depend on whether this one is any this or this one is any that. I would love it. We will love it. Women will love it for the man to be like in 90, 100%, and the woman is like 60%. But situations of life can warrant that you are earning much more. But what happened here is this system is structured in a way that the woman probably will be feeling like, yeah, I'm the one that is doing it right now. It's lack of understanding. It's lack of understanding. If I understand my role as a helper to my mom, as Eza Kenegdo, the warrior woman, the helper that God made that is suitable for him, there is nothing I do to contribute to the life of my husband or to the life of my family that is too much. Thank you.
Words of wisdom there from Pastor Lola. Thank you again for sharing your personal experience again, and for your thoughts on how people could deal with these issues. And I think it's just as a result of lack of understanding that you've said it so far, because both people are supposed to come in to work together as a team.
Yes,
Not
yes.
as a competitor or seeing my stuff as, no, this is mine and you should do this. I think those are like some of the basic issues that are causing these issues. But hopefully people would learn and improve on their ways. So we would then approach this portion, which would be, how should couples approach prayer and spiritual support when their marriage feels like it's falling apart?
Openness.
Mm,
Openness. Be very, very open. Be very, very open. Be selfless. What I mean by selfless is this. You see, there has been cases where a man feels the woman is not supporting him adequately, especially in the area of career.
mm,
I'll give you an instance. A couple came to this country. They both agreed together. We have younger children. Woman, you stay home and take care of the children. I will go to school. I will upgrade myself. I will do whatever I need to do. And when I finish, you can go back.
mm,
So the woman said, no worries. These children are legacy from the Lord. I'm going to do that. And the woman spent 80 years while this man started by doing, I believe he started with PSW,
mm,
proceeded and did his registered practical nursing.
mm,
Not only that, he finished that and did his master's in nursing. He
mm,
became a nurse practitioner.
mm,
And when he finished, the woman is like, I believe now is my turn. Can you reduce your shift at work so
mm,
that for some reason you can be there for the children? Let me go also and
mm,
become something.
mm,
Oh, and the man is like, no, what I have is enough for all of us. What do you even need to go to school for? This is not important and everything. Tell me. See, it came to a point when the woman started to feel embittered,
mm,
feeling like I have wasted my years,
mm,
feeling like I don't measure up to my mates,
mm,
feeling like I can't even speak well other people are speaking. I'm not going to go to school for 10 years. I just need to at least have a career. The man said, no, 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 no. I don't support you. You're not going to be able to do that. You
mm,
know? So I'm talking about number one is selflessness, being selfless, being able to push each other forward. Say, we're not going to stop until we become the best that God has ordained us to be, because everything is not about prayer alone. Everything is not about spiritual support alone. The couple must have a good heart posture, a good heart posture to be able to say, I want the best for my husband. I want the best for my wife. And sorry, I'm going to give an example of my husband too. When we came to this country, I told my husband, I said, we pack our load and came to Canada because of ministry. And ministry it is.
mm,
I'm not going to do anything other than ministry. Even my husband went for his PhD and I started working in the factory. One day he came to pick me up in the factory. And as we were going towards a bend to go in a particular street to go home. I screamed because one of my side was so hurting because of repetitive work. I don't know whether you know those things, packing things. And I'm always like this, 8 hours. And my husband said, that is it. That is it. Enough. I don't want to lose you. You're going back to school. I'm like, no, this will distract her from ministry. I cannot go back to school. And he said to me, he said, okay, I've heard. He said, if at all you want to do anything in this country, what will it be? I said, social work. I said, social work. I want to be a therapist. I want to be a counselor. He said, okay, I've heard. Do you know that I was the one that applied for me? My husband applied for me. He wrote my letter of interest himself. And the admission came and he handed it over to me and said, you are going. Because I see that this can actually improve even the ministry. That we say, you don't just come to this country and sit down and fold your hand. What do you know about mental health? What do you know about the challenges that people are going through? He said, go for it and I will support you. And believe me sincerely, I cannot tell you how many editing my husband did at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. saying, you won't be a mediocre in this country. So number one is that selflessness. Selflessness. Number two is openness. Couples must be open when they are approaching a place of prayer and spiritual support. They must be open to new changes, open to new ideas, open to, I heard you say, learn, unlearn, and relearn. Open to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Open to debunk certain things that are ingrained inside of them. The way we are raised sometimes goes deeper than we think. Oh, my daddy and my mommy, they are no more, and I'm okay. No, but there are certain things we've learned from them that could affect our marriage. So when we're approaching prayer and spiritual support, there must be that openness. We must also admit that there is a problem. The most difficult couple to deal with is when one person thinks there's no issue, there's no problem, we are okay. Or on the other hand, he is the problem. Me as a wife, I'm not the problem at all. You see? So admit there is a problem. Confront the issue. My mentor will always say, whatever you won't deal with, you can't dance over. Whatever you can't confront, you cannot conquer. You can't. So admit we need help. That's another thing. And take responsibility for your side of the crisis. If couples are having issues and things are falling apart, I always say this. You can take responsibility for 10%. If the person who is 90% wrong, if she's not taking responsibility for that, can you start by taking responsibility for your 10%? And let's see whether that will affect the person who is 90% wrong. Nobody is an angel in marriage, except my husband who calls me an angel. Nobody is an angel. Nobody is an angel. We all come with baggages. So I must be able to look and say, hey, Lola, where are you wrong? And take responsibility. Willingness to do all it takes. And most importantly, getting a mentor is very key in this country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Lola. This is real nuggets that you've shared. So just to recap what you said around there, people want to be selfless, and with the very personal story that you shared with us, people want to acknowledge that there is an issue in the marriage.
Yes, acknowledge it, yeah.
Be open to say, well, these are the issues, being open, being able to communicate more, and of course, admit that you are also, take responsibility for the issues that might be going for your part. So those are like great, insightful words from you, Ma. And we slightly might be running out of time, but I'll ask you maybe 2 questions. We can do it in 2 minutes each, and then we can wrap up.
Okay.
How does raising children in a different culture impact marital bond between spouses?
Wow. In
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Yeah. Number one is set your priority right. Couples need to set their priority right so that they are not running from pillar to post. Set your priority right. Children shouldn't be in all the games. They shouldn't be in all the sports. Set your priority right. Do we want to raise children who will fear God? Do we want to be a perfect example for our children? And set the values of the home. Let children know it. Communicate day and night. Our value is respect. Our value is support. If the value is support, children will not be in their bedroom playing games all day without helping daddy and mommy. Our value is support. We support one another. Our value is selflessness. Be present with them. Be present. Because all these things, if they are not in place, one person may be feeling like, I am more involved than the other person. It must be a collaborative effort to raise children who will carry on the legacy of faith that we have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Lola. I mean, as you were answering these questions, I just remember that you once worked as a factory worker. Like today, I would never relate, your experience then to what you're doing today, and very selfless work from Pastor David for, making sure, believing in you and, putting the first step, saying you need to go back to school, you need to do this. So we're really glad for the opportunity that you
God.
shared with us on this platform. Thank you so much, man. I do have one final question for you before we call it a wrap, and I'll call that, can marriages truly be restored after immigration-related breakdowns?
Hmm. Hmm. It can. It can. It can be restored. I don't believe anything is impossible with God.
Mm,
After immigration-related issue, it can be restored. How? Both couples must admit, like we said, there's a problem. Because immigration-related issues comes in different texture.
mm,
One of it is you just spend the money for lawyers over and over again, and there's no headway. Another thing is maybe because of problem of deportation or something, the man has gone to be with another woman, in order to be able to stabilize or something, which I don't support. You understand? But no matter what it is, God is the God who can take the broken pieces and make it into a masterpiece.
mm,
I want to encourage them to retrace their step back to where things has gone wrong, and they begin to walk through it from there. Look for a therapist, a Christian therapist. I'm going to say that twice. A Christian therapist who has the fear of the Lord, who will be able to guide you based on your cultural values and your spiritual background. Very, very important.
mm,
Very, very important. But definitely, couples can bounce back again, no matter the issue.
mm.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Lola, for sharing all of
Welcome.
some of your personal experiences, but again, your professional insights on how marriages can be restored, what couples need to know when they come into the country, setting expectations, having, majorly unlearning, relearning, and learning, so that
Yeah.
it helps them and forestalls them to improve their marriages and their homes together. We are really excited that you were part of this platform. Thank you so much. Any
Thank
final
you.
parting words from you before we call it a wrap?
Yeah, my final parting word to families, because I know right now there are people who are listening to me who are considering divorce.
Mm,
There are people who are listening to me who are considering separation. You know, I just want to encourage them to reach out.
mm,
Reach out. Let it be that you have done everything in your capacity. And not only that, look beyond you and your husband. Look into the future of the children. Look into the impact of your decision on the children. God specializes in fixing broken things. There's nothing that is broken beyond. I know you've been hurt. I know you've been pained. I know the man has hurt you. I know the woman has hurt you. Find a church community, where the word of God is being preached. Cry out. Don't conceal things and see life as a learning experiences. I'm not sitting down here as a woman who has a marriage that is 100% perfect. I've had my share of issues, situations, circumstances, times of hurt, times of pain. But one thing is constant in my marriage is God always have the final say in everything we do. And we try as much as possible to bond together so that whatever problem it is, we see it as our problem, our challenges. So if we come from that perspective, we're able to say it is ours to overcome. It is our victory too. Thank you.
Again, thank you so much, Pastor Lola, for being a guest on the Debo podcast. And that would be all from us today. Until we'll meet you again next time, stay tuned. Keep watching the Debo podcast. Thank you so much.